Europe's Strongest Man took place last weekend, and we're here to tell you everything you need to know. Firstly, great competition, Europe's Strongest Man 2025. 12 athletes, really good show, amazing crowd. Giants Live always putting on a fantastic event.
Yeah, I think you can tell the quality of the show by how wrecked I am afterwards, and I don't have a voice, so I think it's a sign of a good time. So, of course, Europe's Strongest Man has been held at pretty much the same time every year for quite some time now, since COVID at the very least. Actually, 2021 it was later in the year, but since then it's been around about this time. World's Strongest Man moved back to this time of year, so now the two competitions are quite close together. However, it is still a qualifier for this year's World's Strongest Man, so there was a lot at stake at this competition.
It's essentially the last qualifier, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the last qualifier, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Okay.
We'll talk about the competition and everything that went on. People know the results, you know, it's been out, it's been live streamed, but we can fill in, hopefully, some of the gaps.
So event number one was the overhead medley. I was really looking forward to this event.
Yeah, me too.
I'd seen so many comments from people saying, oh, it's not that heavy, because essentially when you listen to the weights of the implements themselves, 90 kilo dumbbell, then 150 kilos on the safe lift, on the axle and on the log. Individually, no, they're not the heaviest weights in the world. But when you're asking someone to lift those weights 8 times, like 8 reps on a 150 log is winning log lifts. 8 reps on a 150 axle is winning axles. So I thought it would be tricky, and also the element that you have to kind of adapt to each implement adds a nice little twist, makes it a little bit harder. You can get into a nice rhythm if it's just a log or just an axle or just a dumbbell, but when you have to change your technique, move from implement to implement, a lot more challenging, and we saw that in the results. Only 3 athletes able to complete every single rep. And we had some great presses in this competition. Luke Stoltman, unable to complete this.
And Pavlo Cordiaco
really struggled on this.
Yeah, they were the last 2 out, weren't they? But it was just Andre Foitu, Luke Richardson and Mateusz Kieliszkowski getting all of them.
Really good race between Mateusz Kieliszkowski and Luke Richardson. Both of them flying through, came down to the log. Mateusz motioning the log to just sneak ahead of Luke at the end. Actually, Andre Foitu was in between them as well. So those 3...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they were super close then. But it was a fun race. And like we said before, the competition, it's a very high chance we're going to see something quite similar in the group stages at World's Strongest Man. So interesting measure. I think it's going to be a lot more challenging than people think.
Way more challenging.
One pleasant surprise on this event, Gav Bilton. He did much better than I thought. He was up against Nick Camby. Now, Nick is great overhead, and I thought, oh, you know, this is going to be a tough one for Gav. But Gav came out on top in their race, and he really pleasantly
Gav
surprised
actually
me.
Started the competition well. Unfortunately, the comp didn't kind of continue well for him, but it was good to see him start off on a positive.
Yeah.
Now, event number 2 was the shield carry, and we can talk about many athletes, but we will only talk about one. A man that isn't the greatest presser in the world, Paddy Haynes, has been working on his pressing, but again, not the best result in the pressing. But once he gets that pressing out the way, this guy is phenomenal. And he absolutely annihilated this event. Yeah,
he just flew with this. Like, obviously, being one of the weaker pressers, it meant he was one of the first groups out. But he went, I think, 30 metres further than anyone else? Not knowing, obviously, because you have to go balls to the wall, don't you?
Yeah, when you're out early, you've got to push it. But even then, I think he had more in him.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was... I know Paddy's quite tall. I didn't realise how long his arms are.
Really
There's some quite funny pictures. It almost looks like a frog.
That's why he's such a good deadlifter.
Yeah, his arms just wrap so nicely around that shield. And people are like, oh, you know, that's an unfair advantage. But that is strongman. Different levers suit different events. But also, when they've got their arms, I noticed that the shield is higher. So that must be pressing on the chest a little bit more and makes seeing slightly more difficult too.
In terms of
even though it's a better grip.
Yes and no. There's advantages for sure to being able to clasp your hands. If you're just all on the biceps, putting it into you, it's definitely harder. And we saw the best distances were done by the athletes that could somehow link their hands. It's an interesting one with the shield because the record was, according to Giants Live, 65 metres by Tom Stoltman.
But that's an indoor record, isn't it?
Well, I asked about this, and because I've seen Thor do 80 metres. I'm pretty sure it was the same shit. It might be different. However, 65, 80 doesn't matter. Paddy went past it all.
He smashed it, yeah.
89, just shy of 90 metres.
89.99.
I'm pretty sure he could do 100.
Yeah, maybe. It was truly very, very impressive. Lifted the lid off of the arena as well. It was the
really
biggest roar of the night.
Absolutely.
So the carry and drag, they changed this. It was a little while ago. They changed it for the athletes. So in previous years, they have carried the it's the anchor, isn't it, and put it on the chain and dragged it back. However, that is a little bit fiddly. We have seen people lose time and points because of the whole clasp issue. So they changed it to an anvil load into a straight up drag, and the what's it?
Anchor and chain.
Yeah, and the anchor was already attached to the chain.
Yes.
There we go. Yes. Now this one ended up being no pun intended, a bit of a drag race, didn't it? I think maybe they could have done with an extra implement to run with. Maybe I'm sick because obviously they've just done a max shield carry for distance.
Well, it's interesting. When we look at the times, they're pretty close. There's a lot of people kind of split between, if we take, I guess, 9th place to 4th place, there's 4 seconds between them.
Yeah.
The top 2 were in the 22s. 10th place was Luke.
No, actually, the top 2 tied.
Yeah,
they tied exactly, didn't they?
22:58 for Mateusz and for Luke Richardson.
Yeah. And they weren't even in the same heats, were they?
No.
Mateusz was in the final one with Paddy and Pavlo.
Yeah.
That was like a CrossFit heat almost, looking at them.
Yeah. So it didn't look like your typical strongman heat, that's for sure. But yeah, some really fast times. And Mateusz actually fumbled the
anvil on the pickup.
Kind of almost let it slip
and
he managed
had to get his knee
pull it back together. Interesting event because I think it could be more challenging if it was heavier. However, when you talk to the athletes, they were starting to struggle towards the end.
They were really struggling.
And the pace of this show was the real factor that caught a lot of people out. Yeah. It's the case with Giants Live often. Once they get going, it is a fast pace. They want the people watching to enjoy a fast-paced show. They don't want people to be sat around for 6 hours. They're trying to get things done in 3.5 hours, and their goal is to almost get it under 3 hours.
Yeah.
Very difficult on the athletes, but I do agree that as a fan, it's better to watch a fast-paced show.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it changes the dynamics of the competition for the athletes. Like, one thing that Mateusz said after the show was that he's only been training for these last few years competitions where he has hours in between events.
Arnold's, Strongest Man,
Worlds. So he's not conditioned for this type of thing. Yet competitions like this are going to massively suit the really athletic guys like Paddy Haynes.
Absolutely, I think that's why he did so well.
Absolutely, that and the fact he had great events here too.
Yeah, and obviously event number 4, the deadlift. Now, deadlift, if it was first, I think we'd see different results.
We'd see very different results.
Deadlift being the 4th event, athletes are extremely fatigued. And as we said, fast pace, very taxing on the lower back and legs in terms of this competition.
Yeah.
Cleaning all those implements, then the shield carry absolutely takes it out of you.
Pumped, yeah.
The carry and drag also taken out of that posterior chain. So by the time the deadlift came around, these guys were struggling.
These guys were absolutely battered. And we saw some upsets on the deadlift. So Mateusz Kieliszkowski, bless him, he knew he was going to drop points here. He was leading going into the deadlift. We figured about 4 reps could be enough to keep him just slightly ahead of the pack still with the stones to go. He got that 4th rep, but it was after the whistle blew. So the whistle blew when it was still here, not quite locked out. He just timed it badly, didn't he?
But I think positives for him. 350 kilos, 4 reps. That is good. Given 3 reps, but he pulled it 4 times.
He did.
He will go forward from that and think, okay, I can do 4 reps, maybe even 5 if I don't hang about.
Yeah.
Because he was taking a long time between reps. You could see the confidence isn't quite there, but this should help build that.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that he's done the 4 reps, if he got 4 reps, he would have got 6 points rather than the 4 that he got, just because of the way people tied. Would have put him into the Atlas Stones in the final heat, and then, anything can happen. But that's for another day. He's got to take the positives and keep building, keep getting back to his best.
Yeah. So this event was actually it was a tie with Rauno Heinle and Paddy Haynes again. So Rauno is someone who really suffered here, I think. Had it been much earlier in the competition, we know Rauno's good for 10 at least. like in training, he was looking good for more, but it would have to be very, very early in the competition, not the first event.
Yeah, he came over and he said the deadlifts never felt that hard for him.
Yeah.
And you could see he was struggling. And that's an area he said himself he has to improve his fitness.
His fitness must, because Paddy also doing 8 looked like he had more in the tank, to be fair to him. I mean, he's stopped.
I don't know that he did.
I don't know that he did. But he looked,
struggle with the end, but fitness-wise,
he looked more comfortable, didn't he? We should point out also, before the deadlift started, Luke Stoltman, the reigning champion, pulled out of the competition.
Yeah, so Luke, obviously, for people, a lot of people have been asking. Luke Stoltman didn't have the best showing, obviously, from Britain's Strongest Man. He was fantastic. I saw him before this competition. I had a chat with him, but just watching him around, I thought he looked focused. Very same kind of focus that he had at Brits.
Yeah.
However, chatting to him before the competition, he did say he came into this like a few weeks ago. He was ill. Perhaps that's kind of held on, and once the kind of competition started to catch up with him again. He did leave halfway through the competition. I'm sure he'll put a video up telling everyone exactly the details.
Yes,
there was I heard rumours of like back issues, then just illnesses. I'm pretty convinced it was more illness than anything else. Hopefully he's absolutely fine, gets himself ready for World's Strongest Man. But yeah, not the performance from the 2-time champ. However, the other Luke was flying.
Yes, so Luke Richardson then, after the deadlift, he was leading going into the Atlas Stones, a great event for him, but lots of good stone lifters. The most fun thing about this competition, it was never clear cut at any point who was going to...
2 points between the top 4 going into the last event.
It was insane. Andre Foytu was in second place. Now this was a position he was in last year also. Atlas Stone's notoriously not his best event. He also missed out on the World's Strongest Man final, losing the Atlas Stone off to Austin Andrade. Yeah. They have improved a lot, but he wasn't able to finish the stone run, was he?
Yeah, no, his training's gone really well, but again, the pace of the show perhaps kind of catching up, but Stones being the last event, unable to really put the performance he wanted to in on the Stones. Yeah. Only 3 athletes managed to do all 5. Now, Rauner was the first athlete to do all 5.
Yeah.
Paddy Haynes, great time doing all 5, and then but Paddy was up against
Andre. No,
he was up against Mateus, and they were very close, neck and neck. Yeah. Mateus trying to one motion every single stone. He was kind of going for broke to try and get the win. Didn't manage to get the 5th stone, and then I thought he'd injured himself because he just kind of stopped up. But he was fine. He kind of he's that kind of guy. If he doesn't think if he's not going to win, he doesn't care.
No, he saw Paddy's stone go up. He knew that was it. He wasn't going to win overall because he had to beat him on the stones.
Paddy's stones are, again, phenomenal. That he's got so many good events.
He won the Stones of Britain's Strongest Man, didn't he?
Yeah, great performance on the Stones here, taking 2nd place. But it was Luke Richardson who went out with a bang, taking the win on the Stones, putting to bed the issues that he had at Britain's Strongest Man. We saw at the end of last year, he was really coming back into form with 2 podium finishes at Giants Live. Now he is Europe's Strongest Man. That has to be, once again, Europe's Strongest Man, a 2-time winner of Europe's Strongest Man.
It must feel so good for him, because, of course, the first time he won this title 5 years ago, it was the COVID year. Now, it was what it was, and it wasn't his fault. They put together a competition called Europe's Strongest Man. It wasn't very international. We can all say that. Yeah. However, it was 8 events over 2 days. It was really cool. I would love to see more of that type of competition from Giants Live. But it was what it was. He won the competition fair and square. He had the title. This was a stacked lineup. Like, no one can say anything.
He beat 2 former Europe's Strongest Man champions. Yeah. He beat a former, someone that people talk about as being one of the best guys never to win World's Strongest Man. Yeah. Some great athletes in there, and a fantastic performance all round. It's looking good going on towards World's Strongest Man.
Absolutely. Now, talking about World's Strongest Man, so now the question is, who else from this lineup is going to Worlds? We know for certain Paddy Haynes will be, because he came top 3.
So just to clarify, some people think it's only the winner that's guaranteed.
No.
Top 3 of the Giants Live shows are guaranteed a spot at World's Strongest Man. Paddy Haynes, coming 2nd, is an official qualifier now for World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
Andre Foytu being in 4th place, is going to get an invite.
Yes, because what I was about to say was top 5 from every single competition since World's Strongest Man last year.
Every single Giants Live.
Every single Giants Live competition, has been invited to the World's Strongest Man. So that includes people that didn't quite make the podium but were in the top 5, such as Evans Nana.
And for those asking, why does Giants Live have this kind of deal with Worlds? This is a contract that they have.
Yeah, it is.
Giants Live is the official qualifying tour for World's Strongest Man. So if anyone didn't understand why the Giants Live shows are important for athletes to get to, that is the reason if you want to compete at World's Strongest Man.
Yeah. So as we know it, there are 21 confirmed athletes for World's Strongest Man. They're only taking 25 this year, so that's 4 spots. Loz accidentally announced an athlete, we won't repeat their name, so it's actually 3 spots. They will be confirmed officially soon. Now, Thor Bjornsson has had an invitation. There was talks that he might do it. It's looking increasingly unlikely that he is going to do it, which would make it 3 spots. Colin Bryce did say on the microphone that the 3 highest performing who haven't already been invited will be invited to Worlds. You have to go down, though, to 7th place, Rauno, to get that 3rd person. Now, he would be an anomaly if he did get invited because he hasn't been top 5 in one of the Giants Live shows this year.
Sure.
However, if it's not Rauno, who will it be? Because it can't be anyone lower on that list, because who else hadn't qualified? Nick Canby, Parr and Gav and Ivers. So it can't be one of them. You can't jump over one because that undermines the system that they're creating. They've actually really stuck to their system well this year.
Names out there. 6th place finisher from last year at World's Strongest Man, Wesley Dewinski. Who else? Tim Buck, a lot of people are talking about.
Tim Buck, 3rd at OSG. I mean, in the last couple of years, the top 3 from OSG have gone. However, it is a decreased lineup this year, and he's maybe a bit of a casualty of that.
Sure.
But we just don't know, do we? And of course, Paddy and Andre haven't been confirmed yet either officially at the time of filming.
Well, Paddy is 100% confirmed.
Paddy will be
because of the placement, but I'm pretty convinced Andre will be invited as well.
It's going to be interesting. So it could be Rauno. I've worn this top for good luck. It's a Rauno top.
Yes. Rauno really performed badly on that first event. That's what's cost him. Like, he probably should have been in the top 5 quite comfortably.
Yeah, he should have.
However, he did terribly on that first
event. He messed
event.
up that dumbbell so horribly. Yeah.
On a different day, different results.
His shield wasn't great either. I was really proud of him for getting through that stone run, though, because it would have been easy to give up at that point. But it goes to show how important.
Of course.
Because he has put himself as the 3rd highest placing out of the guys not invited.
Yeah.
It's a bit confusing.
Most important thing, we focus on Luke Richardson taking the win at Europe's Strongest Man. Thoroughly deserved. He's now a 2-time champion, starting to really look like a contender for many, many titles.
Absolutely.
Getting better all the time, maturing as an athlete. I think everyone in the building was happy to see him win.
Oh, yeah. And he was proper pumped and psyched up, wasn't he?
And rightly so.
I would really love to see Luke in more different types of competitions as well, outside of the world of giants.
Well, if he gets a good performance at Worlds, maybe Brian Shaw will be looking at him for an invite to the Strongest Man on Earth.
That's got to be a scary competition for someone like Luke, though, who's suffered so many injuries. It is brutal, isn't it?
Of course. Yeah. But, he'll want to establish himself as one of the best guys in the world.
Yeah.
You've got to be up against the best guys in the world
in
those big comps. So, right, guys, hope you enjoyed Europe's Strongest Man. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, particularly about the maybe potential qualifiers for World's Strongest Man, what you thought about the performances of the guys, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel.